I wasn't even streaming to YouTube yet. So, like, comment, and subscribe, YouTube. We're back. Sorry. GG. Damn. Yeah, it's because I wasn't I didn't grab my Chromacons, otherwise I would have filled your hand with 3 cards. I don't know where they went. They just disappeared on me. So I had no draw. GG. Have a good one. I think we need one more to get in silver 2. I'm gonna grab some water, chat. Wait, did I already grab water? No, where's my cup? I lost my cup. I gotta go find my cup. No, lay down. You're not getting in. Hi there. Good, good. Yourself? Yep. Ooh. We'll put back 4. All right. Good luck. Draw for turn. Ink a magic broom. Play a daisy. And pass. Sorry, will you say something? Why can I not hear you? Can you hear me? How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hey, thank you for the follow. I have no idea why you can't hear me. How are we? I don't know. My audio just like crashed or something. Chernobog's follower. A3 for Donald. Give +3 to her. +2 from her. Dang, man. Gonna have to restart the game afterwards. Oh, fucking dick. So fucking rude. I'm not the reason I lost. It's the audio's fucked up. I watched it die. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Last guy couldn't hear me, and then he reported it as a loss for me. Yeah. A little bit. A lot of it. Yep. Half cut's fine. Sheesh. I'm gonna put back 6. Yeah. Good luck. Okay, I'll draw for turn. We'll ink 'em at him, Fox. I will play a magic broom, and I will pass. Draw for turn. I will ink a Merlin Crab. We'll pay 2 for an Amethyst Chromacon. We'll draw for Chromacon. Yep. I'll quest for 1. Pass. Okay. Ready, set, draw. We'll ink a Madam Fox. Play a blue and Bodyguard. Now pass. Draw for turn. We'll ink a Magic Broom. I'll play a goat. I will draw for Chromacon. And I'll pass. Me or you? Okay. Okay, I was like, what? What kind of Jafar did you ink? Was it a Keeper of Secrets or oh, okay, okay. Is that the Challenger one? It's a good one. You got the You got the one that does the lore for drawing cards. Yeah, I have 10 life out of the gate. Yeah. Yep. Same. One, two, three, four, five. Nope. Draw for turn. Draw for Chromacon. Inca Cogsworth. Play Donald Duck. It gives +1 to another character or chosen character. +1 lore, sorry, and it has bodyguard, but I'm not playing in bodyguard. And then I'm gonna pay 2 for an Amethyst Chromacon. I'll tap it. We both draw. I'll quest for 2 with the goat and pass. I like this guy's deck a lot, chat. We built a deck like this on Tabletop Simulator. Okay. Okay. Gain a lore. Okay. Really like his deck, chat. Draw for turn. Draw for first Chromacon. Drawing for the second Chromacon. I'll ink a Donald Duck. I will pay 4 for a Merlin goat. 1. Pay 1 for a daisy. 1 for another daisy. Pass. One, two, three, four, 5. How does that one work? You draw 2 and then you discard 1, or how's it? Okay. Okay, what that one does is it it's like 2 or under, right? Yeah. Well played. All right. I love your deck, by the way. It's draw. Draw for Chromacon. Okay. I'll do one more draw. Ink a Magic Room. Play a goat. Yeah, don't think I can do this. Did you? After you've sang all those expensive songs that get you to let you draw. Yeah. And then I'm giving an extra draw to you. Two, what is this, 4 right here for you a turn? That's nuts. Our deck is just synergy right now. But only for you, not me. That's nuts. How much health does he have? 5. Well, can't do anything about that. I will bounce the goat for lowly 1. Play a Lilo and GG's. Yep. That's a good one. Oh, we're still in 3 chat. It's crazy people can use off meta decks like that and still win. Like against super aggro decks, and then other people get mad. I gotta find something to eat, bro.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Podcana episode 71. This week, we're going to be breaking down the Las Vegas Disney Lorcana Challenge and Birmingham Disney Lorcana Challenge metagames and retrospectives, talking about what showed up, what did well, what converted, what didn't, and how we extrapolate this to the future metagames of Lorcana. This episode is going to be a bit different. So, Kala and I are both pretty sick. I was just telling Carl, I gotta change my my SOPs, my standard operating procedures. I touch too many things at these fucking events, and I always get this chest thing, and it sucks. And yeah, I have to drive to San Diego on Friday after packing. So, but yeah, we're gonna do like a 10, 20 minute, not 10, 20, and blitz it and get as much information as possible and kind of break down our weekends. Moyen and Kawa both played. I casted in Vegas. So without further ado, Where do you guys want to start? You want to start with metagame? You know the metagame that showed up on day one in Europe, in Birmingham, and in Vegas, almost identical to the number. Not
Yep.
like, oh, this deck number one, this deck number two, this deck number three. No, I'm talking Ruby Sapphire.
416
shows up
to
400.
410. Yeah.
Yeah, 416 to 410. And then Amber Steel, second most played deck, 374 to 364. Ruby Amethyst, third most played deck, 346 to 247. That's probably the biggest differential. And then we had some different ones as we get down into the net, like 4 through 6 or 4 through 7, which are pretty much all operated by Emerald decks. The biggest swap between Europe and America is that the Americans, they have taste, they have respect. So Amber Amethyst was a bit lower in the metagame share, where in Europe, they just shoot that up. Europeans, they love their aggressive decks. Just kidding. I mean, we had tons of.
What do you mean? Emerald Steel is like so
bro,
much
Emerald
further
Steel
up
is not
in
an aggro deck.
Vegas.
I don't know what stream matches you guys watched, but if you watched the list that Zan, Ed, all those people brought, it is not very aggressive. It is more like a prison deck, which I really hesitated to say on stream. I was like, I probably can't say that, but it would effectively set up like engines on the board via ward characters, and then it would just lock you out of the game. And then the way that deck works is that all of the cards kind of feed into each other. So you just snowball. It's like you jockey for a position in the first few turns, and then when you turn the corner, your opponent is hopelessly out of that game, barring game one of the finals with Zan, which was a bit of a different story. But for the most part, it's like, okay, first few turns, it's like, then I develop my engine, whether it's a Prince John, it's Muses, something like this, and then I start drawing cards. I make my opponent discard cards, so I'm limiting my opponent's ability to deploy onto the board, to come back into the game. But at the same time, I am also drawing more cards, and all the cards that I draw facilitate more discarding from my opponent, more removal, and more of these sort of dynamic threats, and more feeding more into my engine. So we would see these Emerald Steel games where it'd be like, okay, it's a game for like 5 minutes, and then it's just full on prison lock, and they're both at zero quest, and they just lock them out of the game. And then Zan at one point has more cards in hand than he has in deck. Like, it's just, it was so ridiculous, but definitely not an aggro deck in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's similar how the Amber Emerald deck is not an aggro deck either. Like it shares a lot of similarities to that in terms of you got the Prince John Muses engine. Obviously, the difference is you can bounce a card like Ariel to further find more songs, keep that discard engine going. Whereas the difference with the Green Steel deck is it's really, I think it's just so good when you have those removal pieces with, like, the Singer Ursula combo with Stormray John. We saw, I'm pretty sure, right? We saw Zan run the morph in his list, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, a lot of them ran the morph. Yeah, because that shift turn 3 beast to that shift Tinkerbell, which is very impactful. Mostly the shift turn 3 beast. Basically, there was like a few high rolly openings. In play versus draw, especially in the Emerald Steel, it was actually less important than you think. It was, of course, the Diablo opening. So you open Diablo, you get to see their hand, you shift your Diablo, you get your song out of your hand, you potentially play something like an Ursula Deceiver, snag their song, and then you start to utilize this Diablo engine to not let them back to the game, or just start to pull ahead and card advantage, and then they would develop a secondary engine off the back of that with something like a Prince John, in combination with the discard spells, or even like a shift turn 3 beast. Like, bro, what are you gonna do about that? Well, you gonna let the Stormray John my beast? Sure. It was pretty impressive to see. But I was particularly impressed because we had an interview with Zan, and he spoke about, like, because it was a matchup where I thought play draw would be pretty important. And he spoke about the specifics of, like, what's more important than anything regarding play draw is just like these absolute BS openings where you just assemble a lock in like the first 3 turns of the game, and your opponent is just hopelessly kind of stuck out of the game. There's one thing I want to talk about though. My takeaway from the weekend, I don't know if you guys have the same takeaway from Europe in regards to metagame. Outside of Emerald Steel being this breakout deck, and I really liked the deck that they brought, I thought it was very innovative. The impact of Pete on the metagame and the play patterns of Lorcana was overwhelming. I felt Pete's presence. I feel like when I looked at every single deck from a deck building perspective, and I felt like it had a presence in every single game that Steel was represented.
I think from a deck building perspective, I think players definitely thought about it, because over in Europe at least we saw Not the winning red blue list, but we saw a lot of the red blue players obviously cut down on the B preps, go up on the Sisus because of this Pete metagame, and even sneak in a cheeky one or two of Scar as well, which kind of act like this alternative B prep. So yeah, I think I don't know. I think people were definitely prepared for a Pete meta, but at the same time, it's weird because like the deck that I was playing, Pete would kind of come down and would stop me doing kind of like if I'm playing a discard deck, Pete stops the discard happening for a little bit. Pete is just like one of these crazy cards when it literally stops like pure removal. Like if it stops a big combo piece like a B prep or None of the Sea or something like that, that's when I feel Pete shines the most. But he's definitely had
really?
his that's what I felt so far.
Okay, so I actually thought it was particularly interesting in like these like tempo-esque scenarios. So obviously snagging the B prep on turn 7 when you've like over deployed onto board, that's like a very, that's the use case you expect for Pete. That's like the narrative everybody has. But one thing I kept seeing in these Emerald Steel mirrors, or just kind of Steel mirrors, particularly Emerald Steel, it's like your opponent has like the best 3-drop they can have, right? They have Ursula Singer. Your turn 3, you play Pete, time lock them out of being able to sing their Ursula. Then on the following turn, you sing your own Strength of a Raging Fire or something like that. Or you play something like an Ursula Deceiver and snag the songs out of their hand. It was just so effective as this sort of tempo-oriented card that was kind of a read on the opponent's hand. Because previously in these Emerald Steel matchups, like deploying an Ursula Singer on turn 3 was like, okay, prepare to get my board wiped and for my opponent to get a bunch of value. But you actually had this kind of like interplay against that, which I thought was unique.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment, to be honest. It's the same thing that when I think it's more impactful when it comes down against something like the Ursula Deceiver on the board. Against something like my deck, when it was like, if I'm on the play, I throw down the Prince John, and then the Pete comes out in turn 3 to stop the You've Forgotten Me. Sometimes that can be detrimental, but oftentimes if there is just a Muses, or if there is an Aerial that wants to come down instead, that can be fine. But yeah, I mean, like I was going to say, we didn't really see... I don't think we saw many green steel mirror matches within this side of Europe, but definitely seemed like the deck was more popular in the States. But I can see how impactful that card is in that mirror match for sure. Moyen, what are your thoughts on the deck overall? Like, were you surprised to not see as much of this in Europe?
I mean, the difference isn't actually so big. It was 90 Emerald Steels in Europe, 108 in NA. So, and also aggro, the difference was like 16 players. So I think the only big difference in meta share was really NA liked red purple a bit more and like green purple a bit less. I think that those are the biggest differences. I think usually if Pete comes down, you can just kind of do something else that isn't as good as the action that you wanted to play, but also they just played a 3/3 that quests for 1. So in general, I don't think it's super impactful in these early turns. I guess but in this Emerald Steel deck, it has vastly improved that deck, because now you can just time if maybe you can't get rid of the opposing answer to the Diablo, you just shift it on the turn where you play Pete, and then good luck answering it without playing an action.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what would happen a lot. And I mean, it would be in a lot of cases where the opponent's only way back in was something like an action, and maybe they only had like 2-3 cards in hand, and the Pete would come down, and then you would see some sort of sequence of discards on the following turn after that, and they would lose that action, they would lose that answer to Diablo. And yeah, I felt like the deck was ultimately Emerald Steel, at least the list that showed up and did well in Vegas, was this sort of this kind of like prison lockout deck that would eventually just snowball the game. There's almost nowhere for the opponent to come back. It had a pretty decent matchup into Ruby Sapphire as well. Not on the draw, but on the play, it seemed okay. I also, when we talk about the disparity of Emerald Steel in Birmingham versus Vegas, I wonder what kind of Emerald Steel showed up to Birmingham, if it was the same list, because the list that performed super well in Vegas was in the finals, mirror finals. There was 3 of them in the semifinals bracket. That was pretty much all the same list, like this morph, bit of differences on like Tinkerbells, bit of differences on Anna's, but I think there was also a lot of players that showed up to the tournament day 1 with a bit more of an antiquated version of Emerald Steel and ended up getting kind of destroyed by Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah, I mean, like an example I'll give is I remember in game 1 for Birmingham, it was red blue versus green steel on the feature match. Main reason I remember that, of course, is because Kim was on and she won 2-0 to start the day off, which is pretty cool. But she was playing against a very good player, Vincent. I didn't know him at the time, but I was informed that he was a very, very strong player. And the deck had similarities. It had, well, when I say similarities, I mean, it just had kind of the core green steel package, but it did have the muses. I didn't see any Johns, if I recall, but it did have a whole new world in it, which I assume there was 4 of them. Maybe there was just 2. So that was like a key difference in the deck. But I mean, yeah, I don't know if the more shift line was there or not, but there's definitely some players that considered the deck. But I'm not too sure if many of them went with this exact deck building route, to be honest.
Yeah, I got the sense, and I know I talked to a few of these players as well, that there was like a collective of players that kind of ended up on very, very similar lists. I don't know if that was like from a Discord or from an actual internal testing team, but they ended up on pretty similar lists. Let's hit y'all's tournament experience from like super quick, super high level. Just how did you do? Moyne, I know you were a little close this time.
A little close, yeah.
It's because no mustache, bro. That mustache, that would have been 1-2 points at least.
No, I know
Yeah, okay.
Moya's going to start off talking, and I do think it's very important for him to mention some things that happened, but it's not. I mean, I actually think it is the main reason why Moyne didn't make the second day, and I'm sure you'll talk about Moyne, but there was a lot of collusion. Let's just say that, but I'll let Moyne take it from here.
Yeah, I mean, so I got 65th, but and obviously, if someone in front, like if any of the people in front of me that cheated didn't cheat, I make it in. So, but I don't want this discussion to be based on that. I think I've been very vocal about these things before me now getting 65th place. It's just, whenever I go about this discussion, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, at the end of the day, you're not getting stuff for free. You're getting stuff because someone else is missing out on it. And now, okay, this was the second event where 45 points was the bubble, with Bologna being the first one. And to me, it feels like the main reason for that is just that people collude more. And okay, so there's some very very legal and okay ways to go into these playing best of ones, where you say, okay, if I lose game 1, I concede. If your opponent says the same, you are not allowed to ask them. You kind of have this like gentleman's agreement to play one game, and that's not what I'm talking about. That is completely accepted and within the rules currently. But now for example, in NA, now we've had this. I think someone that won a Mickey that like cheated multiple times after he had warnings, and then finally got DQ'd. And there's like a big discussion about that, but there's a bunch of people that got DQ'd for rolling dice when they actually played 1-1, or for playing a game 3 because they didn't want to report 1-1. And it's it's much more common. It's less egregious, but it's the same thing. It's also cheating. It's also a DQ-worthy offense. And at the end of the day, for example, I mean, on this, I didn't get confirmation on this, but on one of the rounds, I saw a table next to me when I finished agreeing to play game 3 instead of reporting 1-1. So I told the judge, and in the end, I see one of them in top cut. That's only possible if they 2-0. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. And that is quite annoying because they were in the same position as me, right? So if they report 1-1 already, that's one more position for me. And yeah, so I think that's just a big problem. And for everyone that does do these things, I would very much encourage to really think about whether it's the correct thing you do, whether that's something you want to be doing. And for everyone that already doesn't do this and accepts this is a wrong thing to do, that's against the rules, it's a DQ-worthy offense, I would encourage you to take it a step further. And even if it kind of puts you in a position where you might not want to be in, I think if you see it happening, like just report it, because otherwise people will get away with it far too often, and it will always stay in the game. But I think as a community, if we want to do something about it, we have to we have to report it if we see it.
That's the worst
I have,
thing
a
though.
hot, I have a hot take. I have a hot take.
Go ahead.
I have a hot take. Fuck the community. Fuck like doing it as a community. They should just institute a system that doesn't incentivize colluding. It's not that hard. Like Flesh and Blood does it, and it works fantastic. There's very very niche scenarios where people collude in Flesh and Blood, but you create a system that incentivizes players to collude, and you can make it against the rules. But now you have to make it
against the rules.
That's what I'm saying. It is against the rules, but now you have to make them. You put them in the scenario. I think it's stupid. Like, why not just?
Okay, but
Why not rework the tournament so that people? This is not a thing.
Okay, but I think this is kind of a cop out. Right? There's a lot of systems where collusion is possible. I don't think you create. So what system are you proposing just to stop collusion? Because I think, for example, Best of 2 has lots of things going for it, or Round 2 format has lots of things going for it. And I don't think I want to give all of these things up just because people are colluding too much and no one's speaking up about it. Because I do think if we just report it when we see it, it's already going to be much less of a thing.
Yeah, but do you actually like speaking? Like, give me your 100% honest opinion. Do you actually think that that's going to happen in the current system? Do you actually think there's going to be this sort of, I don't know, like mental evolution or change, ideological change for basically anonymous players at this 2,000 player tournament that are playing for high stakes, and now they're presented a situation where they have to collude, which I know it's against the rules, I know it's DQ, but it's basically a free roll because it's very hard sometimes, if you're not stupid about it, to get caught. Like, I wish that they would just realize that is a problem and maybe try to institute a better system to where that is not the case. And Flesh and Blood has this like double loss thing for draws, but then the only time I've ever seen high level collusion was basically when you start getting to top 8s, which I guess could be kind of what's happening here, where it's like one person, if they can't get in no matter what, and the other person can, and they could lose.
I think in every system there's that type of collusion, or maybe there's the one where one is already secure top card, like in a different system, right? Let's say it's a best of 3.
Yeah, secure top.
Or there's no, and then one's secured and gets down paired against someone that needs the win. The one that needs the win offers some incentive for them to just like lose the game. Like there's collusion in all of these systems.
Is the issue with the incentive though? Because like, I'm not even aware if it's against the rules. So like, say I am locked for top 8. I play against my teammate, and without any prompt from my teammate, without any push, any discussion, I'm just like, I would rather have my teammate up in top 8 rather than some random person. So I'm just gonna lose this game.
I mean that's also an issue. Even if they don't off.
Is that against the rules?
It's not against the rules to concede. I think it's very much against competitive integrity to let them in just because they're your teammate. But I mean, you're allowed to concede at all times, so I think technically that's not against the rules.
Yeah, so like that's the thing that I hate about this whole thing. Is it happened a lot in Flesh and Blood. Is like what it comes down to is they start to institute these systems that, it becomes very. It's mostly around the wording, right? It's like how you phrase these things. Competitive integrity aside, morality aside, I'm talking about the actual rules. So what happens in these systems is usually the experienced players end up being able to exploit it, while the ignorant players or the new players end up sort of not being aware of what the rules are, and they're the ones that end up getting in trouble, which may be like
that happened as
that's
well
their
this
problem.
weekend. Yeah, I heard a story of basically 2 people playing, and they went 1-1, and they said to each other like, oh, like I think we should roll a dice to do it. So they both put their hand up to ask the judge could they do this, and the judge said pretty much like, get out, like you're done.
DQ'd them on that question.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, on the question, they should probably, if they just ask that, they should probably just tell them no, that's not allowed.
Yeah,
it's not like they
DQing on the
caught them
question
doing
is
anything.
Mhm.
That's kind of odd. But there's so many people that did get DQ'd for playing game 3s or rolling dice, and I do think they will very much reconsider whether they want to do that again or try that again, because it just cost them the entire tournament run. And I think us as probably the biggest podcast in Lorcana, we have to talk about these things, and I do think I don't think we're suddenly going to make the problem non-existent, but I do think we can have a big impact on how big that issue is.
Do you think it's possible for them to create a better system that de-incentivizes collusion even farther, just from the structure, not from a rule standpoint, just from like a
Yeah.
point structure system?
Not really. I mean, I guess so, because I think as long as we are in this 1-2 format, I do think there will be big incentives for this. But even in all the other formats, I think the incentive for collusion always exists. Maybe it's a little bit less common, but I don't think that we can just say, oh, it's just change the system and then no collusion will appear again.
And do you feel like, is your stance that, okay, so you're in the later stages of a tournament, maybe it's a different tournament, you're late stages of Swiss, you're locked for top cut, you pair against your teammate, you scoop them in, your opinion is that is 100% like a violation of competitive integrity and is morally wrong? And you think that's an objective opinion?
No, I think. I mean, I guess it's my subjective opinion, but it's hard. I do think it's hard to argue against.
I don't want to argue. I don't want to interrupt you, but I would say, just because I feel like you're going to get to this point, the crux of the argument against this, aside from subjective morality, is that when you, and this is also subjective morality, when you do something like that, you're not actually just scooping your teammate in. You're actually denying someone who's playing the tournament via basically, you could argue, fair means. You're denying them their spot in the tournament. So you're playing this sort of meta tournament outside of the tournament, to which people that are not connected either via groups or friends or whatever are not privy to. So you get this advantage in a sense over people that is fundamentally unfair.
Yes, and so I mean, I've been playing physical TCGs for now a year, and I've stated multiple times to all of my friends, if we're ever facing and you need to win and I don't, we're playing the game. I don't care. And I if you want to get mad at me now. So we have this out of the way in case that ever happens. But just so they know my stance on it. Yeah, so I played Red Blue, and I played a list without the small CISO, which is, I think, the biggest thing about my list, which gave me, which made my deck more consistent at being proactive. So because I wasn't including too many ice blocks or small CISOs, I was able to play more one jumps, how far it goes, and a lot of board clears. So my list was playing like 4 Brawl, 3 Medusa, and then 3 one jump, 3 how far it go. And as the board clears, 1 Scar, 2 B prep, 4 big Sisu. And that ended up working really well. I, of course, stayed at 60 cards. And I did feel like on some of, I did make some risky calls for this specific tournament where I felt like the Quill opening is much less important than it used to be, because you don't really have to play Quill on 3 all that much, because you just have like 90-ish% to find ramp on 2. And then still, maybe like on your 5 ink turn, 6 ink turn, sometimes in the mid game, it's still good to develop this Quill. But in general, I think Quill has gotten quite a bit worse. And I think so has Dime, because the Ruby Sapphire Mirror, first of all, they all just run out of cards, because they don't play Alphago, or play too little Alphago in my opinion, and play too many Smart Sisu. And when they do run out of cards, if you can continue playing cards, you don't really need the time to finish. Second of all, if you do have any proactive plays, you would often rather do those than play down an early time in the mirror, because the norm is 2 item removal. So what I did was I was only playing 3 Quill, I was only playing a single Dime, and I was only playing a single item removal. And I just said, okay, against all the other matchups, I will have very efficient board wipes. I will have very efficient openings with the 7 2-cost ramp 3 Alphago, and I will be able to do lots of proactive plays with all the Talas and 4 Vision and stuff. But on the flip side, I think the Ruby Sapphire matchup, I don't think it hurts that much to just play a single item removal. I think that's completely fine, especially with this consistent approach. I do think it hurt my red-purple matchup, but that's something I was aware of, and I thought, I think I can get enough out of
it as well, which look, I mean, that's for red purple, right?
The
Gastons are for red purple. Oh, am I looking at an older list maybe?
Yeah, I'm not wasn't playing Gaston. I didn't add my list in here, but I can do it later. So I knew I was sacrificing some percentages against red purple, but on the flip side, I think I was improving lots of my other matchups. In the end, I think with my matchups, I probably make top cut a lot. I mean, with 45 points, I also make top cut a lot, but I ended up not facing a single red purple. So I had like 4 mirrors, 2 Ember Steel, one of them was very aggressive though, an Ember Emerald, and actually a Blurple. The Blurple one was the biggest roller coaster because I thought, oh shit, now I finally face my first red purple, and then turn 2 they play a Tipo after they inked purple, played a purple card turn 1. I was like, oh, okay, it's a 2-0, and so it
Yeah.
was.
Tipo was honestly one of the best anti-aggro cards I saw all weekend when it came to like hyper aggro, like especially like the Amethyst Amber decks, like Tipo on 2, and then they go ahead and they try to play that. They try to play a bodyguard in the form of like Baloo, and you just Sisu that, and it's just Sisu or Brawl it, and then it's just like Tipo beats, man. Like Tipo just starts, it just wrecks all those 1-drops. It's actually hilarious. Really overperformed.
Yeah. So regarding the direction of the stack, so it didn't play the even more proactive decks. For some reason, he forgot that he put in too many cards, but still the rest of his approach was kind of interesting, where he didn't play any Mauis, and then he just like played 4 Develop, 4 Fargo, 4 Vision. So super proactive, and then instead of Mauis, he was playing this. He wasn't playing any big Sisu, and because of that, he didn't have to play Ice Blocks, and his approach was just, okay, I skip the mid game, go to 7 ink on turn 4 as often as possible, and then he was playing like 3 Scar 4 B prep. I think that's an interesting take that can be explored more. And in general, I do think because of Emerald Steel performing so well, especially in Vegas, that kind of necessitates more copies of Medusa again. Right now it's like 2 to 3 copies. I think with the early Sad Beast line, maybe it's going back to like 3 to 4 copies again.
Yeah.
I think in general I was
as well.
Yeah, but I think in general I was happy with my choice. I was fortunate with my matchups. I got 2 open, 2 mirrors. One of them, in 3 of those 4 games I bricked, and one of them they just opened Chicha Quill, which I don't think is a good red-blue deck, but that's an extremely strong opener against like red-purple and red-blue if they do hit it. Then when they don't, they just lose. I played against one Chicha player, they didn't play Chicha on 2, and it seemed like it was unlosable because they like aren't playing Tala and Tarfalgos for the later stages of the game. So there I could have probably won more, but in total I won 6 rounds, lost 2 and drew 1, 45 points, 65th place. I'm still quite happy with my performance.
Yeah. And Kyle, you played Emerald Amber?
Yeah, it just wasn't my day, honestly.
Yeah.
Start off the
You
day.
happy playing it into that metagame?
Yeah. No, I think it was a good pick. It's funny. The few days before the tournament, I hopped on call with Alphos because he was interested in picking up the deck, and he had a very, very similar list to me. I think the only difference was he had 2 Annas instead of the You're Welcome, and I just kind of explained my thought process on the You're Welcome. I know it's not like the most fascinating card initially to look at. It doesn't look great, but he ended up swapping them in, and he took it all the way to top 32. So, I think it was a fine pick for the tournament. I think the worst matchups, I mean, I don't know, like I feel like against the matchups previously that I felt really bad into, like Amber Steel, I just knew exactly what I had to do to win those games. And most of the time if I did face an Amber Steel during the event, it played out the exact same way that I practiced it, which was that if I was on the play, I won. If they were on the play, they won. So there's a lot of ties against Amber Steel, which was fine. I'd rather take the tie in that matchup than the loss. And what just destroyed me was it's so disappointing because literally it was just my first game. I sit down, I'm against Red Purple, my most favorite matchup. Both games I have the best opener I've ever seen of, like, you know, Diablo, Shift Diablo with Cove, Sing Bare Necessity, Snipe the Brawl, do the John, you've forgotten me. Everything this deck needs to do. And my opponent answered both games with like literally like the perfect counter, which was just 1-drop whatever, Flynn, 3-drop Sisu, 3-drop Sisu, 3-drop Sisu. And at that stage, I had no muses on the board. I couldn't do Under the Sea. So sure, they had no hand, but they just went on board, and that's the game, right? Like,
no removal. There's one thing I want to hit real quick because I just noticed, and we don't have the conversion data to day 2, or maybe we do, but we don't have like performance conversion data for day 2 for Vegas, but we have it for Birmingham. One thing was consistent between the two. Amber Steel was the worst converting top 7 deck.
Oh, I think this sheet I added was actually Vegas, not Birmingham.
Oh, it was, okay.
Okay, because I was gonna say in Vegas it was definitely the worst converting deck of like top 7.
So there was
by far. But Red Purple and Ember Steel performed very, very poorly in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not sure if it was the same in Birmingham, but it was really interesting because I felt like there was a narrative around Amber Steel going into the tournament, and it just drastically underperformed because Amber Steel is a deck that I think people can look at Ruby Sapphire as one of its bad matchups, and people knew that Ruby Sapphire might be one of the most played decks and would definitely be in top 3, and they brought Amber Steel despite that. So I would assume from there, I would extrapolate that they had a game plan for that, and they felt like the matchup was closer than it was. But Amber Steel overall, I don't know if it's also its power level into the rest of the field, just did quite poorly. And I thought this had the potential to be a tournament that was, in a way, dominated by Amber Steel. I thought it was a potential. That was part of the narrative going into it. But it turned out, what I thought was particularly interesting is in in both Birmingham and Vegas, Ruby Sapphire, expected most played deck with a target on its back. People are teching for it. Everybody's got the piece. Everybody's ready to play against it. It converted well, despite despite that. I think that because of that, it gets tagged as best deck in the format. Maybe this Emerald Steel innovative build is, we can let that percolate a bit. But a deck
I agree.
A deck that everybody targets and is everybody ready to play, and it is one of the highest converting day 2 decks. Despite that, that's a fucking strong deck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Emerald Steel, maybe people can adapt to it well, maybe they can't. But with Ruby Sapphire, it's like, what matchups are you really afraid of? It's kind of Red Purple and Hyper Aggro, but while Ruby Sapphire was the most played deck, Ruby Amethyst still performed poorly. So, and Hyper Aggro actually, with the Vegas conversion rate, okay, 3 of them made it, of the 94, but because it was only 94 players that played it, conversion was actually alright. But I think in general, just the 2 decks that Ruby Sapphire could strike against, they're not really positioned super well in the meta. And because of that, it's kind of hard to actually target Ruby Sapphire. And with Ember Steel, I think its position in the meta was quite problematic going into the tournament when you thought, okay, the 2 most played decks, and this I also want to talk about, is we were thinking, first tournament in the new set. We don't have the first tournament where we didn't have Pixelborn to test out the set that the tournaments played in. So we were like, maybe the tournament meta is a little bit more up in the air. But even with just like the bigger tournaments that were happening around the world and following all the discourse, I think it was quite possible, and we very much nailed the expected meta share where we said Ruby Sapphire, Ember Steel, the 2 most played decks. I wasn't quite sure in which order, but 22 and 20%, it doesn't really matter in which order. And then Ruby Amethyst 3rd played deck, and then a little bit drop off Green Purple 4th most played deck, and then the rest in like a margin of 5 to 6%. All of those things were completely expected and exactly the way we expected them. And Ember Steel, so basically you have 20% mirror and 22% a slightly unfavored matchup. Even if you think it's all right, I think you still agree it's slightly unfavored. So it's kind of hard to get the 2 O's you need to make top cut in this expected meta share. It's just lots of people thought the deck was so strong that it could like overcome this expected meta, and at least as a whole it really didn't.
Yeah, what do you think attributes to like the most to Amber Steel's sort of struggle in the metagame? Is there any like specific cards that have made it into the metagame that you think are making it a lot worse for Amber Steel right now, or like why it's not converting how players expect it to?
Yeah, so I guess, okay, so it struggles against Ruby Sapphire, everyone knows about, but I think what people underestimated was maybe its strength against Emerald decks, where, okay, Emerald decks aren't, you don't like love facing Ember Steel usually with the different Emerald decks, but all of them are actually kind of fine, just by the pure strength of Ursula Deceiver. Sometimes that just rips away their only Holy World, and suddenly the deck can stumble if they don't draw into the second one. So I think maybe people overestimated a little bit how good it was against all the different Ember decks. Even Ember Emerald is kind of okay against it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I said. Yeah, like it's. I mean, I'd expect like previously, I'd be like, okay, this is gonna be like a really really tough. Right now, I think if you run that matchup, I'd expect a tie a lot of times, and sometimes even Amber Emerald can 2-0 for sure. Like especially because Amber Emerald has not only the Ursula but also the bare necessities to snipe even more songs as well, and the You Forgot Me to potentially get rid of their entire hand to the point where they're so reliant on literally just having a 5-cost singer and top decking like a whole new world or something like that, you know?
Yeah, and then there's this high prevalence of Pete in the metagame
Mhm.
as well, which I think is a non-zero relevance. I mean, so one deck that also really impressed me, which I don't think we're particularly surprised by, but was Emerald Amethyst. Like it made it to the finals. It could have won Birmingham, I think,
Mhm.
and then it also did pretty well in Vegas. I know it was a deck that we talked about, or mostly Moyen talked about in the lead up to the tournament. But I was particularly impressed, especially I mean, this deck against like other mid range decks, which we've always known that. So Emerald Amethyst into opposing mid range decks, particularly things like Ruby Sapphire, can be pretty nasty, especially things like Lyle Tiberius. Like that card is just
You mean
so good.
Ruby Amethyst, right?
Yeah, into
Not
Ruby
Ruby Sapphire.
Amethyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, into Ruby Amethyst. Like Lyle Tiberius is just insane. And then actually like it's so good into like the more aggressive oriented decks as well. I just watched so many games where Lyle just absolutely took over the game, and it was just ridiculous. I felt like this list was very very strong leading into the weekend. And yeah, so I mean, outside of that, is there anything else you guys want to mention in regards to the challenges? I know we said we're gonna do 20 minutes, and let's do an hour.
There is some stuff I want to talk about quickly, just in relation to Birmingham, if that's okay. The one thing is, like, I know Moyen's spoken about it a lot, but I really do want to say that I'm sure there are a lot of great judges that were there at DLC Birmingham, but a lot of them, I think, I do not want. Oh my god, I don't want like an army of judges to come after me now, but
You're
I
gonna
do.
get it, bro. That's a group, right? Like that is a tight group.
I just think that
I'll come for you.
the one thing I would love to see them do a little bit more is when it's at the stage of, you know, people potentially rolling dice or playing game threes, is to I saw a lot of them kind of just standing at the side of the big rows of tables. Like they should be walking up and down and really trying to monitor that stuff. And I know it's a difficult thing to stop, and we've seen that they have kind of, you know, crunched down on it a little bit, but if that's the one thing, I think I'd love to see that being focused on a little bit more. The second thing is, oh my god, it was an absolute disaster day one of DLC Birmingham. I don't know if you heard about this, Brendan, but so the day's over, round 9 is done. Mate, this was actually like really bad, and a lot of people were really mad about it. We were standing, so they basically said, right, you know, if you by round 9, if you already had your 30 points, just come up to the prize wall, show you've got 30 points, and then we'll give you your prizes and you can walk away. If you were on, like, you know, 27 points or whatever, and your last game, you got over the 30-point threshold, you had to wait until round 9 updated, right? To actually claim your prize. We were waiting there for, oh my god, like, it had to be over an hour. It was ridiculous. And this is at like 8:30, 9 p.m. when everyone's tired, everyone wants to go get food, like just waiting, and then we just hear, yeah, so there's been an error, yeah, the system's crashed, come back tomorrow, and everyone starts freaking out because some people aren't there tomorrow, some people want to get their prizes. So then they say, right, okay, anyone that can't come tomorrow, send your friends pictures of your ID so they can pick up your prizes for you. And it was just an absolute shambles. Apparently I heard that they tried to pair around 10 accidentally, and that's what the issue was, that, you know, the system crashed and all this type of stuff. But after a long day, a relatively successful, smooth day, it was pretty rough when everyone's tired, everyone just wants to get some of their prizes, go get some food. Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah, I personally saw the queue, immediately went for food, ordered the food, ate the food.
Did you come back and
outside
was
of the
still a queue?
restaurant. I still didn't know if I made top cut because the standings were still not
Yeah,
out.
did you find out where did you find out that you got 65th, Moyen? Because we were in the restaurant, we were in the restaurant, and myself and Kim saw it, and we were like, oh, I don't know if I want to be the person to tell Moyen he got 65th. I don't know
I was
about
like, right after the restaurant, I had like a 50-minute walk home, checked my phone,
Yeah.
65th place.
65th is kind of epic though. Like it's like so much worse than like 9th, because I feel like the margin is way bigger. So like it's
Yeah.
like crazy to get 65th.
Also, No, I know everyone meant well, but on the next day when then everyone came to me
Oh,
like
yeah.
saying sorry for me, to some extent it got a little bit annoying because
Oh,
I know
bro.
it's unfortunate, right? I think I can deal with it all right. But if there's anything else you want to talk with me about, I would much rather talk about anything else than getting 65th place.
Let me bring you into the content creator beats. Wait till you actually do fucking shit at one of these. You're gonna have to play all 9 rounds. Then the entire day while you play those 9 rounds and you maybe started out 0-2 or 0-3, people are gonna come up to you and they'll be like, "How's your tournament going?" And you have to tell them 0-3. And
Yeah,
then
this
then
used to
they'll
that
put
sometimes.
then they'll put the cherry on top and be like, "You? How? What happened?"
what happened?
And then you
That's
get to
what I got,
repeat that.
bro. That's
You
what
get to
I
repeat
got.
that 100 times, and you just have to be like, "I'm ass."
Yeah, yeah, I should
No,
be on the
actually-
pod. There was a conversation that Kim did so well starting off, and by the way, I do want to give her a shout out. Kim got 40 points, which is her best result so far, and a lot of people came up to Kim after seeing her win the first game. They were like, "Oh, how did you do? Glad it's going good, stuff like that." Like it was really cool to see, to see a girl win the first round and do really really well. And yeah, there was a running joke throughout the challenge. It was like, right, yeah, I'm in the bin. Let's kick me off the podcast and just replace me with Kim at this stage. Yeah.
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 Also, so after 6 rounds, I knew I have like 6 games left in this next 3 rounds. I need to win 5 to be secure, or if I go 1-0-2, 2-2-0s, I'm in. And then in my 7th round, I play a red blue mirror, whereas one time I break the other game my opponent goes teacher Quill and like completely destroys me. And I mean I can't blame them, but they kept apologizing because they were like a fan of the pot and they were winning and like, oh sorry, I'm winning. I'm like, yeah, okay, just be happy you're winning.
Just
Otherwise,
take me out back, like old
Yeah.
yellow me right now. Just fucking
if
put me
you're
out of
not
my
happy
misery.
about winning, I do want to win, so like, please stop apologizing. But I mean, in general, the support again.
Oh, it was overwhelming for
immensely
me.
great.
Yeah, it was. I
Yeah.
got mistaken for Moyen twice. That was the highlight of my weekend. They said,
Oh,
"Are you
shit.
Moyen from Podcan?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. Yes, I am."
God forbid you could grow a mustache.
Oh,
You'd be-
yeah.
You'd be incognito.
And
Yeah.
also I met some people from the States that flew over. It was also very nice meeting them, like some great players that for some reason wanted to like try out Birmingham instead. I think one of them
It's because Europe is soft metagame.
Oh
Well,
my god, I believe it's quite the opposite, Brendan. Let me just say that. Yeah.
Hey,
so I
world's
won't name who it was, but the reason for one of them was quite funny to me, where they said, my fiance doesn't allow me in Vegas anymore, so I had to play in Birmingham.
my
Really?
God.
Wow, that's crazy.
I mean, I don't know how much of that was a joke, but
I think it's 100% serious. That makes sense. Speaking of Vegas, they put us in this. They put us on the the old Vegas strip. It's called Fremont Street. They put us in a hotel called the D, and then my hotel room was facing this this street, like fucking loud, as super loud, crazy. Every single night, I slept in my bathroom. Survival.
Why is you
Bro,
sleeping
it was fucked. Like, yeah, I was like, I put down, like, I took off all the sheets off the beds, not even a mattress, and I slept on the tile. Banged my head on the toilet, waking up one time. Like, and it fucking sucked.
Oh my god, bro.
It was just
Also,
so
we had-
loud, bro.
Just on day 2, in Birmingham in UK, the pricing of the side events was a little outrageous because
Oh,
they
yeah.
just said like same price, but instead of euros, it's in pounds, which is just more. But we've had a great time. We spent like 6 or 7 hours straight, where we shuffled our decks together and like made boosters out of these meshes and drafted from these boosters. And that was
That was the
one of
most fun I
most
had all
fun.
weekend. Yeah, we basically like drafted with like 4 competitive decks. And
Yeah.
the funniest thing was because they were all different colored sleeves. When we were like drawing from our decks, we were like, "Oh shit, this is a blurple card. No, I need a B prep. It has to be this color sleeve." It was so much fun. It was so sick.
Yeah, I was talking with someone on the weekend. I think that you could create a Lorcana cube where you
Mhm.
could do 2 or 3 color limitation. There's not a lot of cards in Lorcana, so it'd be a little bit tough. But I think like having a color limitation would make the game a lot easier. Or it's like you have 2 colors and then you can splash color 3, and if you do all cards in color 3, cost 2 more. or something like that, or all off-color cards cost 2 more.
Or just all colors. Bing bang.
Bang bang.
Bing bang.
Bang bang. I don't like all color stuff
for
because
some
it's
very
just,
broken decks.
yeah, you just
I have to say, Brendan, when I looked at the top 64 for Vegas, I saw some sneaky ass decks made it in there, and I was like, God, if NA
Steel Ruby, baby.
if NA lets one of these decks win the challenge, I will freak out, bro. I was expecting, right, okay, yeah, Birmingham's. Let's see what wins NA. It's Steel Ruby, bro.
I mean, I
Hot
haven't,
deck.
also, I haven't had this confirmed, but I've heard that there was someone that made top cut for the second. So they made it twice already, and they made it again. And both times they played 72 cards.
Yeah, it's actually funny you
72?
say that. Yeah, it's funny you say that because in both tournaments that happened, I believe the other one was Atlanta, I had about, I don't know, 95 people come up to me and be like, have you heard there's a 72 card deck in day 2? And I'm like, fuck. They love that. Like I'm just dude, I am like the fucking beacon of, hey, there's a over 60 card deck. Egregiously over 60
I think
card
that's
deck in
this
day 2.
podcast now. Anytime I saw it as well. I mean, I literally before this episode, right? Let's grab the decks. Let's see. Yeah, that's a 62. That's a 61. I want to kill myself. Yep, that made it. Yep. Honestly,
Yeah. So a lot of 61s for sure. I was dealing with that. Yeah. I guess the last thing, I watched a little bit of EU coverage. The EU coverage is pretty good, dude. It's very high production quality. It's wild. The multi-camera angle.
you think
like,
comparative to
gameplay
NA,
is
it
so
was
good.
like way better?
I think the production quality is way better. I think that the strategy is way worse. So I think that doing true live, is ass. I don't think that you should. If you do a TCG, I don't think you should be running true live. I think you should be running off cadence, so and just have only gameplay. No B-roll, no vamping, just gameplay, max gameplay, like all the time. I think that that is just objectively better. Magic does it, Flesh and Blood does it, NA does it, and I think that is just the way to go. But other than that, EU just looks beautiful. It looks like a freaking Pokemon thing.
I personally don't. I don't understand why it's done, but like I was watching the NA coverage, and ever since you put that in my mind, Brendan, I literally see like the people go like run like because it's all like 0.25 speed, right? So I can see that shit so much. Like I see Zach shuffling his deck going like.
Bro, don't say that. They think they're getting away with that, bro.
Mate.
They don't think anybody.
They don't think people notice that. What? What? Kim even said it to me. She's like, "Why are they moving so strange?" And
bro,
I was like,
"It's way better, dude. It's way better than like some of these people just tank forever on like nothing. So it's better than that. But yeah, I think that not going true live is just so optimal. Like it's just straight gameplay for like 10 hours, which is sick.
Mhm.
What else about NA? Was there anything NA production? I don't know. I
we got you back on the desk. That was the biggest thing, bro. Everyone was hyped to see you back.
Yeah, I was on the desk hitting.
Yeah.
I slowed down on the hypergeometric calculations.
Actually responded to their questions now instead of talking about chess and hypergeometric math.
God forbid they ask me one of those questions. I'd be like, thought you never ask. There was this one thing. So we're not supposed to give out specifics of dex list day 1, and then they like said it into my ear one time, and it was just like gibberish. I didn't understand it. So then for like 5 rounds, I was like, yeah, so they have exactly 4 of this card, 3 of this card, 1 of that. They got 52 characters.
No.
Does Daisy
Well,
yeah.
I guess it's weird, right? Because for you guys, like you said, if it's run at the separate, I mean, you still shouldn't do it, right? Because even if it's run, 2 hours ahead or whatever, if someone happens to catch that match and then they play against the person, then they have an advantage. But that's why, in EU, it was the same thing of like, they had the clear, like it's clear they have the deck list in front of them, but they can't say, oh, there's a one-off scar here. Oh, there's this, there's that,
Yeah, at the end I did a triple. I did 2
Hello. How you doing? Yes, sir. Yeah. Put back 4. Oh yeah. Yep. Draw for turn. We'll ink a Madam Mim Elephant. We'll play a Daisy, and I'll pass. Draw for turn. Magic Broom for ink. Pay 1 for Maleficent. Pay another for another Maleficent. Quest for 2 with Daisy. Sisu. Okay. Pass. She does 1 damage, right? Right, she does 1 damage though. Yeah. Okay. Ready, draw for turn. Ink and Chernobog's followers. Pay 2 for Piglet. Pay 1 for Chernobog's followers. Quest for 2 with Maleficent. 2 with Daisy. I'll take it. Draw for turn. We pay 2 for Amethyst Chromacon. Tap it to draw. Should have flipped that already. I will ink Amethyst Chromacon for turn. I'll pay 2 for Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom. I will quest with Chernobyls. Trigger. Quest with Daisy. She triggers. And I'll pass. Okay. Draw for turn. Draw for Chromacon. Oh boy. I'll pay 4 for goats. I will ink a piglet. I'll pass. Ready? Draw for turn. Draw for Chromacon. I'll ink a Magic Broom. I will pay 3 for Donald Duck. Give the goat +1 lore. 3 quests for 2. I will pay 3 for Blue and Bodyguard. And I'll pass. Okay. You gotta take out the blue first. He's got bodyguard. Okay. That what does that do again? Sorry. Okay. 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 Draw for turn. Draw for Chromicon. Wow. I'll pay 1 for a magic broom. Pay 1 for a Maleficent. Banish the broom for a card. Pay 1 to play another magic broom. Pay 1 to play Daisy. Banish the broom for draw. Wow, all that for nothing. That's turn. Draw for turn. Quest with Daisy for 2. Okay. 4 for the goat. Good game. Made me sweat over here. Yeah, it was. That was a good one. The goat is goated again. Have a good one, brother. I'll catch you in the next one. We're so close, chat. I want to get out of silver so bad. So bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. Oh, yeah. So bad. So bad. It's so bad. Hi there. Pretty good. How about yourself? Half cut okay? All right. Yep. Put back 4. Or, sorry, 3. Yes. Good luck. We'll draw for turn. I will ink a Madam Mim Fox. Play a Daisy. And I'll pass. Okay. Draw for turn. I'll ink a Madam Mim Snake. I'll pay a Lilo. And another Lilo. Quest for 2 with Daisy. You reveal the top card of your library. It goes on the bottom. It goes on the bottom. Yeah. No problem. And then I'll pass. Okay, I'll draw for. Oh, sorry. Ready, set, draw for turn. I will ink a magic broom. I will pay 2 for Amethyst Chromacon. I'll tap the Chromacon. We both can draw. Pay 1 for a third Lilo. We'll quest for 2 and 2 and pass. Okay. Ready, set, draw. We'll ink a Madam Mim Fox. I'll draw for Chromacon. I guess I should have done that first. I'll pay 3 for blue. I will. Now of all time, do not have a crab. I'll pay 1 to play Cogsworth, giving Rush to blue. He'll go into Maui, killing himself, gaining 2 lore. I'll quest with Lilo for 2, and I'll pass. Ready, set, draw. Draw for Chromacon. Okay. I'll ink that. The Chernbog's followers. I will play Cogsworth. I'll pay 3 to play a fox and bounce the Cogsworth. I'll go into the Maui for 4. And I will pay 1 to play Cogsworth, give him Rush, and ping Tipo. And I will pass. Draw for turn. Draw for Chromicon. Oof. Pay 3. Oh man, this is such a weird, awkward play here. Okay, I'll pay 3 for a Donald Duck. Then I'll pay 2 to bounce him with the Mim. Back to hand. And then I'll end my turn. Draw for turn. Draw for Chromicon. Pay 1 for Magic Room. Pay 2 for Manamim Snake. Let's him back to hand. Pay 2 for Gathering Wisdom, Knowledge and Wisdom. Oh, sorry, I'm on. And then I'll ink a Magic Broom. And pass. What does that one do? Oh, okay. Ready, set, draw. Draw for Chromacon. 3 for Donald Duck, giving +1 lore to Snake. Snake Quest for 2. Play Alilo. And then I also play a Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom. And pass. Okay. Draw for turn. Play the goat. Quest for 2. 1 for goat. 2 for Lilo. 1 for duck. GG's. You have a good one. Right. Hello. It's a haunted Poke Center with Gengar, Ghastly, and Haunter. There you go. Yep. Five for me. Like have fun. I will ink a Chernobog's followers. Pay one for a Daisy, and I'll pass. Draw for turn. Ink a crab. Play a Daisy. Play a Lilo. Quest for 2 with Daisy. And I'll pass.